So also the school system is very slowly changing, and it's public. And so what we wanted to, the way we also gained attention from the Minister of Education, it was we want to enrich the school system. We don't want to break it. We don't want to revolutionize it. We want to add something new, to add more pluralism, to add more choice for parents.
Welcome to Homeschool Talks, a podcast by HSLDA. This is a show about all things homeschooling, from practical tips to inspiring stories and everything in between. You can find show notes for this episode along with our other Homeschool Talks conversations at hslda.org/podcast. And if you want to be the first to know about new episodes as well as upcoming guests and topics, sign up for our email list using the link in the show notes. We're so glad you've joined us today, and we hope you enjoyed the program.
Hello, welcome to this edition of Homeschool Talks. My name is Kevin Boden, and I will be your host for today's podcast. Joining us today is Carla from Croatia. Carla, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me, Kevin.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you. So Carla is going to tell us a little bit about her inspiring journey with the attempt to legalize homeschooling in Croatia. So she's the co-founder of a homeschooling group there. We'll have a chance to talk about all of that, as well as a homeschool organization and advocacy center. So welcome again, Carla. Carla, if you could just tell us, where are you joining us from? Where do you sit right now as we talk?
Okay, I'm sitting in our working room in our house in Rijeka. It is on the Croatian coast. It's a small city. And it's a nice afternoon, very sunny and also a little bit windy. Okay.
And tell us a little bit about your family.
I've been married to this one great man for 14 years. Now we have 5 kids, 2 baby angels, and now have kids here. I've worked for a couple of years in academia as a researcher. And then I switched to high school. I became a high school teacher. And while I was expecting our 5th baby, I've got very much into alternative teaching. And then this got me, so from Montessori pedagogy, I went into homeschooling. I really don't remember when this switch happened, but it was like, something I discovered, and it was kind of life-changing, because I said, this is something I was looking for so many years. My husband, he's not into this homeschooling. He loves homeschooling, but he's not working in the association because he's really working for our family.
Okay. Well, great. How long ago, if you recall, did your interest in homeschool start? When did that get going for you?
Well, in Croatia, let's say that there has been some talk about homeschooling from, I think, 2010. And I knew this was an issue, and it was pertaining to, the United States and other countries, but it was really not, I always knew this was something good, because, you teach your kids and then you can give a lot to them as parents, but it was really not in my focus. And then after COVID, there was, more and more people were starting to talk about homeschooling. And it was kind of a strange thing, because I knew I was on my maternity leave with my 5th daughter. And I've always been a creative, chaotic workaholic, always working on so many projects. And then I was like sitting and I was thinking, what should my next project be? Which is really funny, because I was not, I had always so many things to do. And then this idea came to my mind that we have to do something for homeschooling in Croatia, because I knew there were so many, I think 3 or 4 initiatives, and they didn't become law, and there were people interested. And I was thinking, like, why we should do this? This is the perfect time. It was after COVID, and we should do this. It was very, very kind of spontaneous, because I just put some stories on my Instagram account. And I was just, telling people, I found out more about homeschooling. We would love to do it. We prepared the homeschooling room in our house. And then I just put the stories, and I said, is there anyone who wants to join me in this project? Or, and there were like a couple of couples, parents who asked to have a chat. We Zoomed, and then little by little, we have a national organization for homeschooling families in Croatia. We've done a lot of things in these 2 years, so I'm really so proud of the team.
Yeah.
We have like a team of 15 persons working in it, and it's been very adventurous by now.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit, if you would, about the lawful state of homeschooling in Croatia. Most of our listeners are going to be familiar with the U.S., with whatever state they live in here in the United States, or their own country. So give us a sense of what's the actual legal status of homeschooling in Croatia.
Okay, so there is no law regulation on homeschooling. We know about maybe 50 parents, about 50 families who are homeschooling because they have foreign citizenship. Oh, they're like here, not for a long period of time. But in fact, there is no law regulation, and there is a growing number of parents who are interested in homeschooling for different reasons. Some of them are just smart working. Some of them live, far away from the city, in rural areas. But also people who have very extra talented kids, or people who don't find themselves in the actual school system. We don't have the problem, for instance, of security, like in the U.S., because it's quite safe to go to school. But there is a lack of pluralism in the school system. So we have a lot of public schools, very few private schools in Croatia. And this is something we have. Croatia is a post-socialist country. It has gained sovereignty from 1991. And so also the school system is very slowly changing, and it's public. And so what we wanted to, the way we also gained attention from the Minister of Education was we want to enrich the school system. We don't want to break it. We don't want to revolutionize it. We want to add something new, to add more pluralism, to add more choice for parents. And so, we're on the good way, but it's not easy. We've been doing a lot of lobbying, and we're doing it every day, a lot of phone calls. And so it's not legalized. There are some parents who can do it, but it's really unclear the way you can do it. It's not easy. You can do it, for instance, we have the situation in Germany when, there is a law forbidding homeschooling. We don't have the same situation here in Croatia.
So would you say it's a little bit more unclear, or?
It's a little bit more unclear. So I think that this would add much clarity. Having a homeschooling law, but also incentivizing families to do it. When you have a network of people, when you have help and also for the resources, and it would mean a lot to parents here.
Yeah. So what was? Can you give us a sense of what type of connection that you made did you connect with attorneys? Did you connect with representatives? Did you talk to, I don't know if there's like a Department of Education. What was it kind of like as you tried to advocate within Croatia for a change in the regulation or law?
Okay, first what we did, it was trying to look for an example, a law that can refer and can be applied here in Croatia. So we find the Slovenian model was good for us. It was not maybe the best thing to have, but it's still, we have to start with something. And since we have this, the Croatian society also is always refers to the state because it's a post-socialist country. So, the sense of individual responsibility is very, very low, and the state is very, very important. And then you have to, we needed to find a law that can balance all those two things. We would prefer a very, very liberal law on, in the United States, for example, Texas maybe or something, but with less regulations. But we needed to give something that was like a kind of a compromise. And this was the first thing. Then we had, then we spoke to different, lawyers, and we worked with them. And then we started the association, and also we got in contact with HSLDA with Mike Donnelly. I think it was a year and a half. And when we went straight to the Department of Education, which is the Ministry of Education in Croatia. We went from maybe not to the bottom, but we started from from the basic offices, and then went on. And in November we had the first meeting with the Minister of Education in Croatia. And we did many things from there. And also we went to Paris to the GITX conference, which was very important because we get this sense that it was a bigger community. It was an international community. We weren't alone in this project. Do you want to hear more?
I'm going to ask you about Paris here in a little bit, but did you get a favorable reception from the Department of Education, or were they apprehensive about homeschooling or this change, or what was their response when you guys started to engage with them?
Okay, it was kind of 50-50, I would say, because we got very good response from the Parliamentary Commission, from the chief, I would say the president of the Parliamentary Commission for Education. I don't know if you have this kind of stuff in the United States. Mm-hmm. And then from other very important persons who, like the author of our national curriculum, and from many people who were like pedagogists, and that worked in schools and were held important offices in the Ministry of Education. The minister was, he wasn't against it. He is simply not interested in it. He doesn't think this is a very important thing. So what we needed to show him, to make pressure, to make good lobbying. We did a lot of positive lobbying, because we don't want to. This is very important because the previous initiatives in Croatia were kind of not always very positive towards the Ministry of Education. What we cannot change the entire system. We don't want to change the system. We just want to have another option, so we can change the system in our home, and then to then spread the change in the society. So there was, I can say, in the top offices at the Ministry of Education, it was like 50-50. They were not completely against it, but they wanted to have, the proof that it was okay for children, that it didn't harm children to have. And this is why then we engaged working on this research paper and getting reviews. So this was like, okay, if you need some scientific proof that it was okay, because they didn't know a lot about homeschooling, then we will prove it to you.
Yeah, that's great. So you mentioned GHEX, and you attended there in Paris just last fall, right? Mm-hmm. So give us a sense of, why was that important? Why did you go? How did you hear about it? And how did that kind of maybe impact your involvement or ability to advocate there in your country?
Okay, it was, I think when we got to get in contact with Michael Donnelly and then Silvia Copio from the GHEX, and I had really no idea what was going this conference be about. We just wanted to go because we were like fresh homeschooling association. We needed this contact. It was very, I would say what really surprised me is that there were many different people there. Also, different, different backgrounds, also ideological backgrounds, also different ideas of what homeschooling should look like. And then still very staying together and having a lot in common. And, what I was really enthusiastic about, it was very concrete. We got really good insights on, good ideas on how to work in this political lobbying, how to get to, how to spread the word, how to organize ourselves. This was very useful for us because we were really like freshmen. We did activism before, but this is something really new. And so we decided, we will continue we'll make many phone calls and talk to politicians who wanted to listen to us. We're staying all the time in contact with the Minister of Education. We are sending updates. And so Paris was like the moment when we understood that we were not alone. And this was very, very, very international movement. It was so beautiful to see, because when parents are also in our association now, we see so many different parents, different backgrounds, also different, also like different type of of homeschooling, but still very, very motivated. Also to have a team. So what I was really amazed about it was this motivation, and also that we're not alone. This was very important to us.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think part of what you're highlighting is that homeschooling can look really different family to family. It can look different in various countries, and yet the homeschool community is still very unified, right?
Yeah.
Just the idea that homeschooling in Croatia may be slightly different than the US or France or England, there's still kind of a commonality about homeschooling families that really unites them together, even if there are kind of other differences that exist there. You mentioned the name Sylvia. Tell us a little bit about Sylvia, your connection with her, and how that connection with GHEX has been encouraging to you there.
Well, I mean, we had, I think the moment we met first online and then in person, and she's like full of energy and ideas, and I like those people, very, very Portuguese. And she was very open up about the problems and also the difficulties she had. And but we're like, I mean, I think once a week we hear one another, and also thinking about the next GHEX conference. And it was very, she was, I think she's a very inspiring woman, and it's helpful to see that, I mean, that there is an international network you can count on.
Yeah. I mean, tell us a little bit more, if you would, about what's the value of that international network, because it is really encouraging to know that you're not alone in this fight in your own country, and that there are people across the world that are advocating and working hard. And I know you've networked with many other people in Europe. And so give us a sense of that international community and how you have been a resource to them and how they've been a resource to you.
Okay, it was, I would say that I think that the fact that we have this international network, even though it's not, I mean, we can hear, I mean, we get in touch occasionally. We know, I think the conferences are very important to have them regularly, because they were very, very helpful, but also to see that education is changing worldwide. And this is a process that is going on in many countries, and there is many dissatisfaction of parents. And that I think that the school system will change, which will change slowly, but then we don't have to wait this change. So to have this international community does mean that you can prevent the problems of the education system in the future and work on solving the problems now. And also, for example, when we were writing the research paper for the Minister of Education, it was very useful to have ready the researches. And what was really fascinating to me, and we didn't know it in Croatia, until now, that the research community, the academic community is very into this. It's very into researching homeschooling. And it's not just, I was like really surprised. I was telling to some people working at the Ministry of Education that, that it's not just HSLDA that is doing research. It's so many academics that are working on very different fields and that are interested in homeschooling, and there is data, and there is really good data, very interesting. You can do, the cross-sectional studies, and so this was, just the fact that there is also there is international research community which is working on homeschooling, that give you the sense that that this is something that you cannot, that you have to take into account, that homeschooling does exist. It's very various, very interesting, and so it was easier for us now that maybe it was like 30 years ago in the United States to say, homeschooling does benefit your kids, because now you have the data and you have the research and you have the outcomes.
Yeah, it is interesting how many people, once they hear about homeschooling and you start to have that discussion, you realize that there are a lot more people that are interested in looking at it academically, looking at the research. We've got the benefit of lots of research in the US, and I just think it's wonderful that you guys are kind of beginning that, if you will. You mentioned your research paper. Give us, if you would, tell us a little bit about what that research is more specifically about, and then if there are any conclusions, at least preliminary conclusions, that you could draw from that research with respect to homeschool.
Well, with it, the paper, this was something that was asked us from the ministry, as I was telling you. So we needed to work on justifying homeschooling from the point of view of international law, especially the documents Croatia signed at the UN, the Declaration of Human Rights and other documents, and then to look to homeschooling to if it does fit in the national law system in Croatia. This was the second part of it. If it doesn't fit the national strategy of Croatia, which it does, we proved it in the paper, and how it benefits the child. So it was how it benefits the child, the family, and the society. And also we have, which is something really good for us. We have a new from 2018. We have the new, the new curriculum in Croatia. There was this kind of school reform, and they simplify. And then I think that they made a favor to homeschoolers because they simplified the process. And now you can say more easily, yes, it's more easier for parents to follow the national curriculum because it's much more user friendly. I would say like this. So the conclusion is that we answered all the tough questions. For example, what happens to? I mean, is there more? Oppression of? Is there any problems in the homeschooling families? What about the control of? All the difficult questions. We answered it in this paper, and we got not 2 but 5 very, very positive reviews. 3 positive reviews from Croatia, from the Croatian University professors, and 2 from the United States. So it was, I think we did, I'm very thankful to the reviewers also, and I think we did a great job.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's wonderful to hear the interest and then the success of it, right? And we, of course, we as homeschoolers know that if you do this research, you'll find that, homeschool children are very well adapted, they're very educated, they're well loved, right? They're cared for, they're creative, they're engaging, all of these things that it's nice to be able to put that on paper and then present that to others so they can see what, many homeschooling parents, have known for a long time. Have you found that, is any research from other countries persuasive? For example, like if you were to go to the Minister of Education there, do you think that research from other countries would have been helpful to them, or did they really want research from Croatia itself to help sway their opinion?
Well, they needed, I think it's both of them, because we use the most of the research we used was from the United States, obviously. Something from the Great Britain, but more or less, and some preliminary researches and studies from Croatia. Like there was an interesting study from 2018 giving comparison between Croatia and Slovenia. But we have something in Italy, but what I wanted to is to understand how this model of education would fit the Croatian schooling system. So this was the main idea, also to explain all the difficult questions, the tricky question. What about parents who really don't care about their children? Would they, misuse the homeschooling law? What if, will all these kids have the same opportunity? And because, the fact is that in the Croatian constitution, the parents are not the main educators of their child. They're like very important figures, but it's very not unclear. It's not like in the Declaration of Human Rights that you have written very clearly that the parents are the first, the first educators, etc., etc. Mm-hmm. It's not that clear stated. And so, and there is a lack of trust from the institutions to the parents. So we have, so it was not easy to explain how this would benefit. We're trying, and I think we did a good job, but it was, you have to explain everything from the beginning. Like, what about, what is this, what is this? Because sometimes I felt like they think, where are these people coming from? So this strange, very, maybe they think, I sometimes I sense if they think, that these homeschoolers are maybe anti-systemic, anti-system, anti-everything. We just wanted to say that no, we just want to, to be involved in the education of our children. And we really needed to explain a lot, to give evidence, to very patiently, to explain that this is something very, very normal in other Western democracies.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned something that I think is important also, that, it's important for the homeschool community to discuss all of the things that they're in favor of, right? Sometimes they like to discuss homeschoolers as, here's what we're against. We don't like this. We don't like that. We're anti this. We're anti that. And sometimes we just have to shift that and say, hey, let's talk about all the things that we're in favor of, right? We're in favor of children. We're in favor of choice. We're in favor of families. We support good education. We want kids to learn. We want them to be socialized. We want them to be cared for. And so it sounds like you guys just did a wonderful, wonderful job educating, lots and lots of education of officials there. So you guys you've been in this fight for a little bit of time now. You've had some success. How have you seen the movement grow, and what kind of joy have you seen in your own family and in homeschooling families there because of this kind of road towards homeschooling? And I know the road's not over. We're on the road as we speak, but what kind of joy have you seen come as a result of this advocacy that you've had?
Okay, we have all the friends coming to our house are always asking about homeschooling. So this is very particular. It's like, oh, how is the homeschooling thing going on with Carla? And now tell us more. And then my husband is there, like, okay, I need to hear this like over and over again. But it's I think, well, we at the beginning when we started the organization, we wanted to cover three pieces, let's say. First of all, the networking, putting parents together and making the network. And this was something, I can give an example. Like 2 weeks ago, the Ministry of Education asked us to provide some data of parents who wanted to start homeschool now. I mean, what are these parents, where they're from, what is their socioeconomic status, and so on. So we did this kind of survey. And now we're going to present it the next week when we have another meeting with the vice minister. And the fun thing was, we were thinking, okay, we have to find like 500 parents in 10 days. We hope to have 500 answers on this survey. And what happened? It was like in 24 hours we got almost 2,000 answers. Like, it was amazing. And for Croatia, it's a very small country, not everyone is on Instagram, not everyone is following us. And it was so amazing. And then we just thought we closed the survey like in a couple of days. We said, no, that's enough. We don't need any more answers. And so it was very joyful to see like this. I think it's it's not a massive movement, but there are many people interested. They want homeschooling, maybe not because they want to homeschool, but because they want to have these options in case of, you never know. We want to have these options. We want to have this opportunity. And also another thing, which is very fun to me, to see how many different people come to us and just want to help. So when I say we have a team of 15, more or less 15 person working on it, it's this on digital marketing, it's on the blog, it's working on the papers we're sending. It's very, I think and we didn't split, and we just, we work hard. It's so, for me, it's fascinating because you see that when a parent, they ask us, what is your motivation? How are you so motivated? And we are, because everything they asked us, we did it because we're parents. Mm-hmm. And every parent wants the best for its child. And so it was, for me, it's amazing to see how many different people, and really different. Like you couldn't put these people together for any other cause that was not homeschooling. So it's, and it's also, I think it's a great thing because we're spreading the word and making people know what is homeschooling, because homeschooling was something very American, very, social media thing. They used to have seen these American homeschooling families. What are they doing? Now it's much more closer to the families. And also there are many. There are some Croatian families, we already know each other, who are homeschooling. Still the children have to go to school, which is 0 to 6 or 0 to 7. And which is not bad, because you can do a lot of things when you homeschool your kids until they have to go to school. So this is also an experience and something new. Yeah.
So how do you, as they hit that, we call it the compulsory education age, where kids would have to be educated in some manner. How do you navigate in your own family the requirement for education, but also blending in your own homeschool and education and opportunities and all of those types of things? How do you guys within your own family kind of merge those two together?
It was. It's not. It wasn't. I mean, one of the motivation for going into this homeschooling adventure, it was that I realized that, I mean, as more the kids were in school, they were losing on some creativity every year after year, and also the big amount of homework, and they needed to do it during the weekends, and we wanted to spend time together. And what I tried to is I wrote to the school council. I went there to the principal, and I asked, why don't you dismiss the homework, give children more time to play and more time to be outside, more time to be creative. And I realized that all my effort had no sense. And then, I mean, why I told you that in this homeschooling, I just found the solution of everything I was working on of all these years. I was trying to change the system, but it was very difficult. And then I said, okay, I will invest this time in the homeschooling, for homeschooling in Croatia, but also invest this time to homeschool my kids in the free time that is left for me. So I homeschooled the fourth daughter when she was in the preschool, which was the preschool is kind of compulsory, but there's no regulation. So in fact, you can homeschool her because no one is asking you, why didn't you bring your child to the preschool? And it was, I think, one of the best year, because I have seen so many changes in her, also in her like the way she acted and the way she acted with other people, her independence, her way of working. And so even though now she goes in the first grade, we have a lot of I call this homeschooling activities. So we go to museums, spend a lot of hours there. So you can see all these people just going, we enter the museum and then the line just goes and people just end and we're still there like for 2 or 3 hours talking about this, really into it. And there, we have 2 homeschooling corners in the house when they have used the materials, the books to work. I don't know, the microscope, the globus, the atlas, the books. And also then we read it together and then we go to this museum or explore this. So I try to follow up their interest, which is very, I don't know, I have a second grade. Our son is now in second grade. He's 9 and he's very interested in the First and the Second World War and in all this kind of strategies. The war strategies, what they were, how they, and it's very interesting because in school he hasn't got a chance to go to the Museum of the First World War, and we spent 2 hours there, and he was full of questions, and we continued to talk about this. So what I try is to when they do math, to use other materials to integrate, so to use all this kind of free time we have. Also we spend together, like, enjoying each other. It's okay, like in any other normal family. But also I mean, it's not that we're homeschooling, we're just teaching them all the time. But right. I just say I think there is a difference when you homeschool your kid and then you take the kid to the museum or you just go to the museum because you have the intention of teaching your child something. And also when we have dinner and when we have, we're teaching about many, many things. So also the virtues. And so it's very, I think it's, I can see the difference when you have intentional learning in the house and intentional homeschooling. And then if you just spend time with your kids and sometimes you talk about issues because they're very interested in economics. My second one just told us the other day, why don't we learn how to start a business at school? I want to start my business, Mom. And she's always talking about business. She wants to be an entrepreneur. But so we try to follow up their dreams and their interests, and they did some digital, like some online courses on coding. And so this is what we really want to offer them by now. I mean, since we cannot homeschool now. as we want
Well,
to.
yeah, I mean, what I hear you, and lots of parents have, I think, realized this, but, give the kids the opportunity to pursue their interests, right? It's funny you mentioned the Second World War. One of our oldest boy is very interested in World War II. And so same type of deal. I mean, he'll get a book from the library and just sit there and read about World War II strategy, just because he likes it. And because we homeschool, he has the time to do that, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing that I want to highlight that you mentioned is, when you homeschool, like in your family, school is not something that's done somewhere else, right? It's the kids don't get this sense that, well, we go here to do school and then we come home and we don't do school. Every moment, every opportunity becomes a chance to learn and to grow. And every opportunity as a parent becomes a chance to teach your child. And so learning becomes much more integrated over the course of your whole life. And I just think it's just wonderful as more and more parents experience that. Have you seen, well, I want to ask you about your family, because I didn't ask you how old your kids were at the beginning. You mentioned you have 5 children. Can you tell us a little bit about them? How old are they? What do they like?
The oldest one is 13. 13, 12, sorry, 9, 7, and almost 2. And, each of them is very, very different. The first one is very into reading, and she always tells me that she can't wait to homeschool because she has a bunch of books she wants to read. I mean, she's really fully into it. And, the second one, it's very much into art, and it's very artistic and very emotional. So this year, which is now she is like in the adolescent years, it was very difficult. I think this is something that homeschool would really benefit us, because she had some difficult experience. She experienced difficulties in school from her peers. And I think that homeschooling, it's not a way of protecting. I mean, it's a way of protecting, but also in reinforcing your child. And I have seen how much harm can a bad environment do to your kids if they don't have, the parent support, because you cannot control what happens in school because we're just at home. So it was, she's very into, not so into reading, but very into drawing and very into learning visually. So she really likes to, when we go to museums, really like to, to imagine what happens and everything. Then we have the third one. He's a boy, 9 years old. As I told you, he's very into the wars that happened. And it's very interesting to see how, and what I was amazed, because we have a lot of questions from how it's, I also have questions, of course, how is to homeschool different kids from different ages. And what I see when when you are on the school break period, and they learn from each other. We can talk about, we went to the Museum of Chocolate in our capital city, like I think 2 months ago. And it was interesting because every period of time, like if you're 13, 12, and then, 9 and 7, they have a way of learning. And there is a difference. So they're like helping each other in this process. The bigger one with the smallest one, there's so many things that they're helping each other in this learning process. The one that is the oldest one is reading to the other one. And, so I can see how, and we have also friends that have kids of different ages. And what I've seen that when you have, very differentiate age of the kids, and also different, the kids' friends, what I have seen is that they learn so much. If you are in one class and everyone is 12 and everyone is 13 and everyone is 14, you lose so much creativity that comes from different, having together kids from different age. And the smallest one, she is a year and a half now. She will be almost 2, and I'm really enjoying the time that I'm at home with her. And also when I'm working or co-working, smart working, it's very funny because now I'm thinking in a different way. I think that I'm homeschooling you. You're 2 years old, but I can still homeschool. We can do a lot of activities. We can stay together. We can do things together. And I'm really enjoying being a mom that teaches them what I can do. I mean, by now. And
Yeah,
also I can see that, for example, sorry to interrupt you, but the adolescents, I mean, the two of them, they're, when we go somewhere and when we organize together, they're really appreciating it. It's really nice to see, we're so thankful we went there. Thank you, Mom. We had a great time together. So it's different what I expected to have, to adolescents and how it will be. It's very different.
well, it's a little bit kind of countercultural. It's not what people kind of tell you about adolescents in particular. And so we've had that same experience where sometimes it's a little bit of work to get them to go, right? But then once they're there, they're really appreciative that you kind of made them go, right? Because they see the value. And the family dynamics you mentioned, I just think are so wonderful. Within a homeschooling family. In the remaining moments, Carla, I want to ask you a couple of questions here. What do you think is the greatest need in Croatia for homeschooling now? What's the greatest need or couple needs that you can think of in Croatia?
Well, I think the resources. We have, the networking and the resources, because the families we are, getting in touch with, they lack of experience. Okay, they need to, but also they need resources for homeschooling because they don't know where to start. For example, we are a bilingual family, Italian-Croatia, so we use a lot of Italian resources. So in Italy, you have a lot of things, you can use it, and also because I'm a teacher, it's kind of different. But what we lack is something, I don't know, like a curriculum that for homeschooling parents that they can use. I mean, maybe they won't use everything, but to have a guide for homeschooling. Yeah. And I think also the networking to make this small homeschooling communities and co-op for parents who are homeschooling 0 to 6. That is more or less. And we need a homeschooling law. This is something really needed.
Yeah, well, we'll continue to work on that. But yeah, I mean, the curriculum and then just the connection with other families, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just like you were encouraged to go to the Paris Summit last year, right? The ability of those families to connect with one another is encouraging, particularly when it's a neighbor, somebody who lives across town, maybe somebody who lives in a neighboring town. Well, maybe in closing here, I would ask you, what would you want to say maybe to a largely US-based homeschool audience? We have lots of freedoms here. We have lots of resources. We have lots of connection because of the history that we have. So what would you tell a mom or a dad or a community in the US that you'd want them to know?
Well, that we really, it's not just a phrase. We really look to the United States when we look for more freedom in education. So it's, for us, for me also especially, it's very inspiring to see that you can, what can a homeschooling family do? And also to enjoy your freedom because, not every family has it in the world. And especially we need to, work a lot and very, very hard for it in Croatia. It's not that we have basic freedom. It's not that, but the sense that you have to respond to the state for the education of your kids, that you are not entitled to homeschool, to the responsibility of educating your child. I think the sense of freedom that you have this, great opportunity. Just, be grateful for it because we are really looking to. It was for us at the beginning where we had the first, the intro Zoom with Mike, like last year. I can say it was very, very helpful for us because to know that there is a network of support, a community, someone who has much more experience on this, and also to see what big things homeschooling families can do. It's really inspiring. It's not that I'm saying, it's not really like a phrase to say, so enjoy your freedom because they're not everywhere. It's not everywhere like this.
Well, we appreciate that. We do have great freedoms, and we hope that we can at least be a resource and a support to people like you who are trying to advance those freedoms in their own countries. So if people wanted to get in touch with you or wanted to follow you on social media or other platforms, how would they do so?
Okay, it's our website is homeschooling.hr. And then we have homeschooling Croatia. I can leave this. I don't know if there is any way to we are on Instagram. It's not, so you can find us on Instagram. It's homeschooling Hrvatska. I don't know how to spell it. It's HRVATSKA, I think. Sorry.
Okay. Well, if you didn't get it, we'll link to it in the show notes so people can just click and go to it. But
yeah, please. So it's easier, and also to write to us. And also, if you have, we always say we don't have a very donating culture in Croatia, very like this kind of, and we're always like really trying to explain that it's for us it's very important to have. So if you have Croatian people out there in the HSLDA willing to help and to donate and to support us, we are very happy because it's, every, even small donation we had, it's for us, especially from Croatia when there is no donation culture, it's something big. It doesn't mean that this parent is really into it and wants to support us. And so it's very rewarding and yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, I mean, I appreciate your time. It's nice to meet you. I look forward to working with you in the years to come to see what we can do to advance this in Croatia and across Europe and really the world. So, Carla, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me. Yeah.
Yes, you're very welcome. So if you've enjoyed this episode, please like us on whatever social media platform you happen to view this on. We appreciate you joining us for this episode. Of course, if you're not a member of HSLDA and you'd like to join, you can do so at hslda.org/join. Or if you just want to donate to us, go to hslda.org/donate. And then, of course, if you're interested in contacting Carla or contributing to her work in Croatia, please look her up. You'll find the link in the show notes. And we would encourage you to do that as well. So, Carla, thanks again. And we appreciate your time.
Thank you very much for inviting me, Kevin. And I can't wait to see what the future is going to give us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks again, Carla. All righty. Thank you so much. Thanks for tuning in.
Every week, HSLDA hears from hundreds of homeschool families, many of whom are facing hostility from school officials or discrimination from colleges and employers. We've helped single parents facing criminal charges for homeschooling their children, families traumatized by wrongful CPS investigations, and even a grandmother harassed by the state for homeschooling her granddaughter. By donating to HSLDA, you can help make homeschooling possible for families like these and enable our work to preserve freedom for future generations. Give today at hslda.org/donate. That's hslda.org/donate. Thanks for listening to this episode of Homeschool Talks. If you've enjoyed this conversation, will you do us a favor by sharing it with a friend or leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts? As a reminder, you can find show notes for this episode along with our other Homeschool Talks conversations at hslda.org/podcast. And if you want to be the first to know about new episodes, as well as upcoming guests and topics, you can sign up for our email list using the link in the show notes. That's all for now. We hope you enjoyed this program, and we'll see you next time.